She should not have been drinking. A girl is assaulted at a party. Her friends suggest that she should have been more careful about her drinking, implying that her intoxication made her responsible for what happened to her. Every time a husband and wife or a girlfriend and boyfriend are about to engage in an intimate interaction, you're supposed to be in consent.
Yes, and just tells, especially women,
Yeah.
we are not, what's the word? We are not gods. You cannot fix something that is already broken. The best you can just do is try to help that person manage what is broken in them.
Sure.
But you cannot fix. Can a man be raped? They're like, yes, someone can be raped. And the response was laughter. And then you're like, okay, why are you laughing? So we gave them two examples, the same I'm giving you. You give a woman has been raped, this has been happening. People will be like, oh my God, why is she okay? Give the same scenario to a man, and they're like, uko sure hakuwa anataka.
Hello guys, my name is Tara Nicole and welcome to another episode on the Vibe Tribe podcast. I'm joined yet again by Leticia.
Hey.
Hi. So she's joining us for this third episode where we'll be role-playing scenarios on abuse, and she'll be giving us solutions on how you would maneuver such a situation. So if any of these situations relate to you, do let us know in the comments down below and leave a like on this video. So welcome back, Leticia.
Thank you for having me.
So shall we dive right in?
Yes.
Okay. So scenario number one. It's not rape if we've had sex before. So a girl is feeling uncomfortable about a sexual encounter with her boyfriend, but dismisses it. It can even be her husband, her wife and husband, thinking we've had sex before, so it cannot be rape. Give us a solution on that.
When it comes to how rape has been defined in law, rape is that an intentional and unlawful act causing where penetration occurs either using the genital organs with someone without their consent. So there has to be that aspect of not their consent. So despite you having and engaging a sexual intercourse or interaction with this particular person, and at this point, the aspect of it's intentional and lawful, and there's no form of consent, or if consent is there, it has actually either been coerced, forced, or it has been induced in some form of either maybe through intoxication or something like that.
Yeah.
Then that qualifies as rape. Doesn't justify whether you're in a partner in an intimate relationship or not. It justifies it as rape. Because the aspect of it now being intentional, the actually cause of penetration using your genital organs, and then the aspect of no consent, that one now qualifies as rape.
Okay, so let me ask this. Can somebody be raped in a relationship?
Yes.
So every time a husband and wife or a girlfriend and boyfriend are about to engage in an intimate interaction, you're supposed to be in consent.
Yes.
Each and every time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's what you encourage, because I know it looks unorthodox because and that's the perception that we normally even talk about, that someone says, because I'm in a relationship, I cannot be raped.
Yeah.
Because I'm in this side of setup, I'm married, I cannot be raped. No, but when you look at what the law says, every person is not to be subjected in any form of violence, whether in public or in private. When it comes to sexual violence, it defines that if a person, doesn't matter, it doesn't make an exception because this person is your husband, this person cannot rape you. No. What the law says is, if that person causes any act of penetration using their genital organs, and in these days we're talking about the penis, vagina, buttocks, and breasts, to cause penetration, and the aspect that there was no consent, and if consent was there, there's some form of coercion, this person was forced or intimidated, then that, as per what the law provides, justifies it as rape.
Okay.
Yes.
That is quite insightful. I did not know that.
Okay.
Okay. So role-playing scenario number 2. If he apologizes, it's okay. A girl forgives her boyfriend, or a wife her husband, after he slaps her during an argument. He apologizes profusely and she feels obligated to forgive him because he seems remorseful. Yeah, we've had this happen to a lot of people.
I'll pick it up and say it brings out so many issues, especially aspect of victim blaming and what does justice mean for this person and the awareness that this person has. Let me start with victim blaming. We have to understand the situation, the setup that this person is undergoing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we tend to see that you've bonded so much with the trauma this person is inflicting or rather has created that environment with, that sometimes it becomes so difficult to know if the slap is wrong or the slap is different from a kick, or the slap is different from the threats or intimidation, or the slap is different from maybe being denied any form of employment or something, economic gain. So it really it depends on the situation.
Okay.
But in such a setup, what maybe I will just speak about is for someone to just be aware that any form of violence should not be tolerated. And like when I mentioned this case for which was decided sometime in 2020, and in that judgment, the court identified the definition of what violence has been identified: a slap, a kick, a shove, an intimidation.
Yeah.
So it various ways. It manifests. It manifests in different ways. So it was just someone to just take that away. I'm not saying that if someone does apologize, it's wrong.
Yeah.
But it was just someone to take charge of the situation. If you feel like yes, an apology will make this person to change, because we see also in terms of the criminal justice, we tend to lean towards this remorsefulness, just rehabilitating, and someone to just be given that second chance. But it's just for this person to also be aware of those incidents, because if it happened once and it happens twice and it happens thrice, then it's for you to take charge and realize that this is a problem. Because sometimes violence, and I'm not trying to justify, like I mentioned, is if it happens at once, try to maybe just also be on the lookout, so that if there's another instances of it happening, then you know it's a problem. If the person apologizes and you see maybe it's a pattern, they do it, they apologize, they do it, they apologize, then you can establish also from there that this is someone that maybe has created this pattern to manage this whole thing. So for me, just to call out for, it's okay, it's okay to forgive, but if it's severe, take action, go to hospital, talk to it about someone. Even if it's not severe, just express this to someone, have a different view. Someone will actually tell you it's okay, maybe, whatever, but it's also for you to just be aware that violence can be physical, can be emotional, can be economical and harmful cultural practice. But it doesn't mean, sorry, because if you check what our laws define, even just one incident amounts to violence.
Oh.
Yes. So as per the law has provided, is just even one incident amounts to violence. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, scenario 3. He's just trying to protect me. A boyfriend insists on knowing where his girlfriend is at all times, saying it's for her own safety. He constantly checks her phone and restricts who she can hang out with. Yeah.
In some way, I know sometimes it's, okay, I'll speak for myself and not generalize, but it's good to be cared for someone to check up on you, to feel like you feel safe in some type of way. But there's some time of checking up, caring. It becomes too invasive in a way that your private life is being controlled, in a way that someone tries to portray that you don't have control over your own life.
Yeah.
So in such a situations also, I will say it will depend with the level of also understanding that you have with your partner.
Okay.
Sometimes it might come out that it's too much, but if it builds in a way that both of you are okay with it and yourself, you're aware of it and you're not being forced to actually go through that, then it's can be a red flag. But to some, it feels safe. It feels that someone really does care about you. But it's just to be aware to the extent that if now this person takes over the control, like for example, you're saying they check your phone, then they start controlling your timelines, they give you curfews, they tell you who and who not to hang out with, then that one becomes too much invading your personal and your private life.
Yeah.
So it's just for persons within that relationship to understand their dynamics. And once you sense that one person has power over you, then that is a problem. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Scenario number 4. He's stressed, that's why he hit me. The scenario being a girl justifies her boyfriend's violence by blaming it on his stress from school and work, believing that once things calm down, he'll stop being aggressive.
That is also one form of victim blaming.
Sorry.
But that one has the aspect of that secondary victim blaming in a way that you're trying to blame the actions of this person made them do it. Like we have that defense of that thing made me do it. But in such a situation, for me, what I normally say, and rather what we make people aware is violence should not be justified. What has been identified is those forms of violence. It means somehow, somewhere, it's something that has been seen.
Yeah.
So for when you get to that point of justifying why someone acts, it means then you're blaming yourself, that you feel that you had a role to play for that, why this person is causing maybe harm to you. So for me, what maybe I can just say is we do not need to condone any form of violence. Justifying any form of violence should not be welcomed. And even if someone is stressed, yes, maybe you can just assess the situation, but don't condone it in a way that you now give reasons. Oh, this person beat me because maybe the person had a bad day. Or this person did that because when they were yes, that's something like that. So it also just calls upon us to also know our triggers, to identify our triggers, so that if you know something can trigger you to maybe react in a violent way, then to just try and manage that. And also maybe if you also identify such triggers from someone, is also now just to be aware on how to also respond to it.
Yeah.
And to justify just welcomes an opportunity for someone to actually now lean on to something to say, I did it because, so I should be excused. No. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, scenario 5, this one is quite common. I was asking for it by wearing this. A girl is catcalled while walking to school in a short skirt, and she blames herself, thinking that her outfit provoked the harassment.
I'll still stick it to the same examples. What does a 2-year-old put on to make them being defiled? What does an 8-year-old victim survivor put on to make them be vulnerable to being raped or sexually assaulted? What does and sorry for being a bit sensitive, a person with disability portray for them to be sexually violated or just to be sexually harassed? So the point I'm drawing at is, no matter what you wear, no matter how you appear, whether you're gifted or not gifted, whether I'll not use that, but there's no justification for some form of violence to be inflicted on you. If the person violates you, it doesn't have to be because of the way you dress. It's just that that person is violent and something has to be done. So in terms of victim blaming, it should not now push someone to a corner to now justify that the crime happened or that action happened because I had a role to play in it. No.
Okay.
You didn't wake up to just say that I am going to be violated, so let me create that environment. No. It's just that if you violated, it means that person has done a wrong and they should be held accountable. Yes.
Okay. I can change him. A girl believes she can fix her abusive boyfriend by showing him love and patience, thinking that his behavior is a result of past trauma that she can help heal.
Sometimes we intend to see that when it comes to victims and survivors who continue to stay in an abusive relationship. In such situations, we also have to understand the dynamics, like I mentioned, because you find if the power dynamics, for example, you find they have built, there's a way you can bond with trauma to a point that you don't even realize that something is wrong.
True.
So in such a situation, you find that there's so many instances that have developed themselves that have created an opportunity for this person to actually see an opportunity to amend this person. Sometimes we also get a bit harsh and just tells, especially women,
Yeah.
we are not, what's the word? We are not gods. You cannot fix something that is already broken. The best you can just do is try to help that person manage what is broken in them,
Sure.
but you cannot fix. A good example sometimes we use is, for example, if a glass breaks,
Yeah.
even if you put it together, it will still have its cracks.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that you've not fixed it. You've fixed it, but it still has that cracks. But now, how do you manage that cracks? You know that if you're drinking water, for example, if it broke maybe at the top,
Yeah.
there's a way you drink water from the other side, something like that. So you try to at least see how you can help that person to manage. But also, we should not also see ourselves as healers, as being gods, and just take that charge of that situation. If the person also doesn't want to change themselves, it is not your responsibility to condone what they're doing to justify that you can actually change them.
Sure.
Yes, and also just to understand the dynamics of that relationship. But what just needs to come out, if a person is violent, don't take it upon yourself that you can change something that is within without that person acknowledging that they are indeed violent.
Sure.
Yes, and I'm not giving it as a professional advice. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm a lawyer. But just in terms of the experiences that we have seen, we just tell people to just be aware that if you can't fix everything that is broken, but yes, you can just try to manage, but you should not also blame yourself if this person doesn't fix themselves. And that's why we have professional who actually undergo this training to help such people to mend their ways and to change how they take things.
Therapists.
Yes, therapists, psychologists, people in that field, they understand, counselors, they're professionally trained to know how to manage. So if yourself, unless maybe also professionally, and sometimes I've interacted with persons in the counseling psychologist department, they say you can also not treat your spouse because the dynamics are just different. But for me, what I would encourage is, if you feel that this person is undergoing some form of either mental challenges or issues with their mental well-being, it's advisable just for them to a necessary facility or a friend or a supporting system to at least help them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So she should not have been drinking. A girl is assaulted at a party. Her friend suggests that she should have been more careful about her drinking, implying that her intoxication made her responsible for what happened to her.
You know, sometimes when I get that clients who say, or rather they are told, because you're drinking, it's like you welcomed an invitation for everything to be done.
Yeah.
Sometimes we tend to ask, is women and girls are not supposed to have fun? It's not bad for women to get intoxicated, but it doesn't justify that it is now an invitation for something to be done to you. So the same thing, whether someone is drunk or not,
Yeah.
the aspect of consent, it has to be obtained. Consent, and one thing I'll stress is consent has to be obtained from someone who's above 18, from someone who understands whatever is about to happen. If you're going to have sex with someone, they have to be conscious to know that you're going to sleep with them. They have to be aware of what is going to happen. So that now, if also they're engaging, they're fully on, so that the aspect of just consent is there. So whether someone is drinking, whether they get drunk, they appear drunk, doesn't create an invitation for this person to be violated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just as an example, there was a time we were having a conversation with some friends, and it was a matter of what happens when a girl is intoxicated, and maybe you two are dating, but this time she blacks out. But before she blacked out, she didn't give consent, like sign any form or anything, but she was into the whole affair. Then blacks out the next day. She can't remember what happened. Can she say she was raped?
Um,
Because it's a very blurry line.
in that situation, and what normally we tell, because police have been trained to identify if a crime has been committed. Of course, the law says, sorry, of course, the law says for rape to occur, the aspect of it being intentional and lawful, causing penetration.
Sorry.
Sorry, there has to be that aspect of intentional and lawful penetration had to have occurred. The issue about consent was not there, and if consent was obtained, the either form of coercion or maybe someone was forced. So in such a situation, what we also normally encourage is for people to report.
Okay.
Then once you report, it's the police obligation to investigate and identify whether a crime did happen. And like I also mentioned, there's so many ways of assistance you can get. If indeed that it happened and you're not sure if you can remember, you can also be advised to just go to the hospital to ensure that you're okay. Evidence can also be collected at that point. And then now from there, the process starts. You can also get in terms of psychosocial support out of there. So it's just how that person looks at what kind of assistance they want. And you're not just trying to justify from anyone who's listening that if it happens when you're intoxicated and you cannot remember, come out and report. Come out and report, because institutions have also been empowered to know how to handle such situations. Because we also have instances where perpetrators have mastered their skill in a way that they don't want to be identified. They use the form of either drugs to perform that act, especially when it comes to sexual violence. So it's encouraging that people should come out when something like that happens.
So, scenario. If I report it, no one will believe me. A girl is sexually harassed by a quote unquote popular boy at school, but decides not to report it, convinced that no one will believe her because of his social status and reputation.
In such, we do tend to get victims who push themselves in a corner in a way that they've already, what's the word? They've had themselves, they've judged, they've convicted themselves. So in such situations, we encourage, because also the danger that we face in our society is the lack of reporting. Because we find incidents do happen, but people have already in their mind decided that even if I report, this is not what is going to happen. What maybe I would encourage, maybe if someone has undergone such scenario, is we should stop that perception of they will not believe me. But look at it in a way that you're accessing justice. You want to be heard, your side of the story, that something did happen to you and you feel that there's something was wrong. So what do you want? You want to access justice. And for me, how I define justice is to be given an opportunity for someone else to hear you and determine whether something did happen or not.
Yeah.
Because as you understand, in our criminal justice, especially issues around, let's say, sexual violence, we base yes on evidence, of course, your story. For now, this person to actually be found that they indeed committed this crime.
Yeah.
So for me, what I would encourage is the aspect of saying that they will not believe you is just one way of impeding your way of just accessing justice. But we should see it in a way that you want to tell someone your story, an authority that has been placed there to assist you. So just go and report. You might even find instances, if it was sexually violated, they can even refer you to the hospital. Like I mentioned, nowadays we have institutions that have been trained and empowered on how to handle these cases. Once someone reports, you can take them, even they go to the hospital. There are hospitals which have been equipped to know how to handle issues around sexual gender-based violence. Once you go to the court, you're also prepared to just face whatever happened to you. So for me, what I normally encourage and maybe emphasize, we don't have to see justice in one way. You can see it in so many pathways. Like there are so many intersections, so many whatever pathways to get it. But it's for you to just come out, speak, you be heard, so that it can also be a process of healing, as you have put it in our discussions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Plus, you might be stopping it from happening to another victim.
Yes, that's another point, because sometimes what we also encourage is to find, if you also don't report, someone else might actually undergo. And now if you see you report, you have your OB, if chances are that it happens and someone else's report, then the police will see that there's actually a pattern, and you might actually even help in terms of catching this person. So it's just encouraging that you report, ensure that after you report, you obtain an OB number, If the pain or harm that has been inflicted on you demands that you go to the hospital, go to the hospital. Ensure that you keep records. It is your right to ask for information. It is your right to have information that has been written, to have copies of it, so that at least if you need maybe an action to be taken, you have that at least evidence
Yeah.
to say that yes, indeed something happened and you took these channels, and maybe if something was done or not done, then someone at least can take that action from there.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the statute of limitation in Kenya?
For rape, sexual violences, we don't have.
Oh.
But sometimes it's encouraged that you do report within 72 hours. And if it happens immediately, you go seek medical attention immediately.
Yeah.
Because I do understand, or rather, in sexual violence cases, like for example, if rape has happened, defilement has happened, there's some immediate medical attention that you get in terms of either if the person might have been infected, you can be given medical attention for that. If maybe the person did not use protection, the aspect of you becoming pregnant, there's an aspect of that. So in terms of the limitation, it's not really out loud, but we do encourage that if it happens, you immediately report so that action can be taken.
Okay.
Yes.
So, scenario: I can't leave him; he'll hurt himself. A girl or boy wants to leave their toxic relationship, but stays because their partner threatens to harm themselves if they leave, making them responsible for their well-being.
In such a situation, and I'll just echo, not to sound a bit harsh, is sometimes we cannot help everyone. You also have to be aware of that. And in such a situation, this person clearly is undergoing some form of mental well being issues. It is not your space or it's not your place to be their psychiatrist, to be their therapist. They are professionals who have actually been trained on how to handle such situations. You find there's a term that you normally use, but I've forgotten about it. It's where someone just uses their issues to maybe, how can I put it, to guilt trip you, if I can say it, to just guilt trip you.
Yeah.
So in such situations, we tend to just tell persons who might be victims in such a setup is to just walk away and try and get this person some sort of help, especially where someone threatens to cause harm to themselves.
Yeah.
That is an issue that you should take it upon yourself to ensure that they get some sort of help, so that it also doesn't become a baggage to you.
Yeah.
Because in such situations, what happens if this person actually does kill himself or herself? We tend to see that the number one person who will be the suspect is the spouse or someone who's close to them. So for also your safety, to just ensure that such an issue doesn't come to be an issue for you.
Sure.
And then now it also negates that you're part of, now you don't even become a victim, now you're the perpetrator. For me, what I encourage is, if you're in such a situation, take that initiative to ensure this person gets the medical assistance that they need, or maybe the professional help that they need. Ensure that also maybe someone within your space knows about it, so that they're able to just back you up if in case indeed this person takes the action or the threat that they are sharing the same to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So he does it because he loves me. A girl believes that her boyfriend's controlling behavior, as we were talking about caring, such as forbidding her from going out with friends, is a sign of love and protection.
For that one, I'll also answer in terms of depending. Caring is different, and I believe relationships. Now, I'm even being a relationship expert. Just fair warning: I am a lawyer. I am a lawyer, so my words should not be taken professionally. But in such a situation, if I was to speak in terms of just the lawyer side, is if it becomes that this person actions amount to stalking, intimidation, threats, they're making you feel like they're going to cause harm to you, then legally speaking, that is a form of violence.
Okay.
If self-care turns into a point that you feel like your life is in danger, to a point that you walk into a restaurant, you're already receiving text, who are you with? That one is a form of stalking. within our law, it's identified and it's a form of crime. So to that extent, legally speaking, it is a form of violence.
Okay.
Caring, self-caring, maybe the professionals would be best to explain to what point does caring become too much or it's becoming invasive. But in such a situation, if the caring extends to a point that you feel like your life is threatened, there's instances of harm to be inflicted to you, then that is a problem.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's just a joke.
Mm-hmm.
A group of friends frequently make sexist jokes, and a girl feels uncomfortable. When she speaks up, they dismiss her concern, saying it's just a joke, don't take it too seriously. You did say there is such a thing as emotional violence, and
Yes.
we have all been in situations where people could be making jokes, maybe tribalistic jokes,
Yeah.
sexist jokes.
Yeah.
Could that be taken as a form of violence?
Yes, it can be taken as a form of violence to this extent. If the remarks which are being said, it's unwelcoming to you. And in that conversation, they may be some inclination of maybe they're going to cause harm to you, like someone, for example, I can use an example, someone says, I can pin you down and do stuff to you or something like that, then like making jokes. There's that indication of there's a threat or like your life somehow has been threatened or there's an instance of either causing you harm. Then to that point, it's a form of violence. And then also emotionally is one aspect that criminally we've not yet realized how to deal with it because you see it's all in the mind.
Yeah.
But as a form of violence, there's some things also it can trigger because you see some people might actually be joking and it's something that has happened to you or maybe happened to a friend or maybe it's something that has triggered something or maybe has just made you feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Then there's that aspect of emotional violence. So if it happens to you, it's yes, you can step up and tell them that what you're saying is having an impact on me. Kindly maybe stop and all that. And if you feel that it's something that is going beyond, if it's in a school setup, as you've given that example, there's a way you can report it, either maybe to a teacher or a counselor to at least address the situation so that those boys, either boys or depending on the people who are interacting with those jokes, to just be summoned and then be told, maybe to even be guided and be told that making jokes such as this is an impact and whatever, and teach them to just understand that making such jokes, they have these implications and all that.
Yeah.
So it depends if it's in such a setup. If it's in a group of friends, also just take charge, just walk away. You can also tell them, maybe even educate them and tell them that the jokes they're saying, they have that connotation of inciting either form of violence against these particular persons.
Yeah.
So just be aware and maybe just stop it. If it continues, you can also go and report it. There's a way that if it can go beyond just you just giving them warning, you can report it so that at least even if the police will just take it as an action to either warn them or something like that, you have taken that step.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So men cannot be abused. A young man is ashamed to admit his girlfriend is physically abusive, thinking men cannot be victims.
That is not true because as for the definition, gender-based violence defines gender-based violence as any act of violence, threat, or harm that is inflicted upon a person because of their gender. And what this means is just gender. It doesn't mean just necessarily women. The actions in terms of why it is preferred women, it's because statistically, it has actually been demonstrated that a huge number of women are the ones women and girls are the ones who are prone to actually undergo some form of violence. Doesn't mean that men are not undergoing some form of violence. It just means that either the system has not been welcoming for men to actually come out to express themselves that they've been violated. We live in a patriarchal society in a way that perceptions we find that men are being told men are not supposed to cry, men are not supposed to be weak, men are not supposed to be this, men are not supposed to show any emotions, men are not supposed to be too much loving or whatever. So you find those perceptions that men have been built around. It's a system that they have grown with it. So that you find even a man, sometimes you tell them, not to beat they will come out and say I will not beat my wife or whatever, But if they go to a group of friends that's historic, or maybe they have that understanding that for you to be respected as a man, you have to do certain things to put a woman down, then there's that aspect. So in such a response, for me, what I normally encourage, and when you go to the community, we tell men to come out. The system is not just addressed, is not put to address only for women concerns.
Yeah.
The law protects everyone, it's equal.
Yeah.
It protects us equally, and it is meant to protect us equally. So for men who are undergoing some form of violence, speak out. The police are there. Even if you're intimidated, just speak. There's a process, because even if you go to the police and they laugh at you, you can actually report them.
Yeah.
Because it is their job not to judge you, not to discriminate against you, and not to treat you in an undignified way.
Does that actually work in Kenya? Because
It's still a challenge, because sometimes, I can give an example of our current speaker, Honorable Moses Wetangula. Sometime back, sorry, sometime back, I can't remember exactly the year, but he came out to say that he's actually have been violated. The response, as you'd expect, if a woman comes out and says that I'm in a marriage, I'm being abused, the response for a woman, it will be, that is something bad, we should deal with it, that person should be arrested. That is the response, because people have also been informed and empowered that violence against women is bad.
Yeah.
But now for response for the men, you tend to see that people will be like, especially when someone, like, there's a time when we went to the community and someone says, can a man be raped? They're like, yes, someone can be raped. And the response was laughter. And then you're like, okay, why are you laughing? So we gave them two examples, the same I'm giving you. You give a woman has been raped, this has been happening. People will be like, oh my God, why is she okay? Give the same scenario to a man, and they're like, uko sure hakuwa nataka, uko sure something. There's just a way that they justify. So for what the point I'm just trying to driving into, gender-based violence can happen to anyone: a child, a man, a woman, a boy, a girl, an old person, person with disability. It can happen to anyone. It doesn't. Why we just focus it on women and girls? It's because predominantly women have actually been empowered. It has actually been identified that they're the most victim. But we're not saying men don't get abused. They are abused. You have the same systems to access justice. Go report. Go seek some sort of medical assistance. Take the matter all the way. Seek psychosocial support and have someone at least to just give you that support. And for men, I would encourage, it is okay not to be okay. It is okay not to be the definition of what society has defined as a man. It is okay to be you as a person. Of course, it's challenging because we live in an African setup, but it's just an encouragement that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because there are men who have been abused, and I don't think, especially African society, they are willing to come out and talk about it. Yeah. So jealousy shows he cares. A girl interprets her boyfriend's jealousy as a sign of love. You might be talking to maybe other guys. Your boyfriend interrupts every time or gets extremely mad because you're talking to people of the opposite gender. It's okay. Yeah, what do you have to say about that?
I'll still stick to the same discussion that we had. The point where caring becomes too much. You feel like your life is being threatened, there's some imminent of danger or harm to be caused to you, then that is an open door that it is a form of violence. Of course, jealousy. Also, I'm not like an expert in terms of how feelings are, but there's some sort of jealousy. Some say it's cute. We deal with young people. They'll tell you it's cute to see if your partner has that aggressiveness. Yes, you'll feel like, yes, you're loved. But because I'm imagining that it's a young generation that you're reaching out to, is if at any point that caring becomes a point that you feel like you're being threatened, there's an inclination of harm to be caused to you, then that is a problem. That, and I believe maybe if an expert in terms of the mind, what to express, relationship advice.
Yeah.
There is that caring that is too much, and that's caring that is way excessive. So in such a situation, for me, what I encourage is to also just be aware of the signs. If the inclination leans towards that jealousy causes you harm, threatens your life, threatens your well-being, threatens your dignity, then that's a sign that it's a form of violence.
Okay.
Yes.
So finally, we have they did not say no, so it's fine. This is basically the whole topic of consent. So a boy thinks it's okay to continue sexual advances as long as the other person did not explicitly say no.
That one also, it's a bit because I'm trying to look at it in young people engaging in sex, and they're not fully informed of what they're engaging in. And then the aspect of consent, yes, has to be there because as it has been defined within our law, that consent is very primary, and consent has to be informed. What do we mean by informed consent? You have to explicitly say this is something that is going to happen so that this person is agreeing to whatever is going to happen.
Yeah.
So the absence of not expressing it does not mean that you've expressed it. Maybe that's what I just want to emphasize. So, despite maybe someone just not responding to it, don't make an assumption. Just take that charge because through this now you're being informed. It's just a responsible thing to do to just have that conversation with someone.
Yeah.
And sometimes also maybe what I can push in terms of young people is if now you're maybe sexually active or engaging in sex, seek medical profession so that you also understand to also protect yourself because you see you might be engaging in such an interaction and you're not even understanding the level of what you're engaging with. So it's better at least just go to the clinic and at least also be knowledgeable so that you inform yourself before you engage in this sexual activity. That is just a disclaimer. But for someone not saying yes or no does not mean it's an open door to now engage because if this person justifies and goes and reports that there was actual penetration, I did not consent, or the consent that I gave, either I was forced or I was told I was promised something or something, they will just see the aspect that the consent was not really informed. So in such a scenario, what I just encourage is you just have to be aware of a situation. Have that conversation with that person. Be informed of what you're engaging with so that these instances of someone being violated, we do not have them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you so much, Leticia, for joining us again.
Thank you too. And just one last word. Yes, yearly, as you've been mentioned, we do mark 16 days of activism. It's something that also FIDA does. We go to speak to young people, just informing them about creating just awareness of issues around SGPV. Right now, femicide is on the rise. So it's just a call among any young person that is out there to just be careful. We're not saying that to be careful that you're prone to be violated, but just to be aware of your surroundings. Be sure where you're going. Just inform someone what's happening in your life. When you go to spaces that are not familiar, be at least updating someone to just be about your whereabouts. But we just have to be careful because the world as it is meant to be safe for us, but doesn't mean that you don't have to act. Just be aware of our surroundings. So thank you. Our numbers are 0800 720 501.
Yeah, I will put the number down in the description box below. Do make sure to like this video. Thank you so much, Leticia, for joining us on this video. Share it with a friend who might be dealing with any of the scenarios you've had below, and do subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one. Bye bye.